The following program, Live and Learn, is made possible by Aging Partners. Find out more on their website.
Hi everybody, welcome to Live and Learn. I'm Kim Hachiya, and as you can tell today we are not in the studio, we are in the Pioneers Park Nature Center, and I'm here with my guest Andrea Faas, and we are going to be talking about the Nature Center. I do want to say thank you to LNK TV and Aging Partners for producing this show and allowing us to be out in this wonderful place. So Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Thanks. So you and I talked earlier about how Pioneers Park Nature Center is a place, not a building.
Yes.
So why don't you explain that concept and what it is?
Well, so the Nature Center, it's a 668 acre landscape, and it consists of prairie and wetland and woodland. So it's really a place to come and explore. We have miles and miles of trails. We do have interpretive buildings where people can come in and visit, but really the experience is outside.
It is outside, and we are in the woodlands part of it,
Yes.
and which is really nice. We're taping this in June, and so the fact that it's shaded and lovely is really nice. And just across the way is the prairie, which is wide open. But tell me a little bit about this part of the Nature Center, and maybe what can people expect if they come out here?
Sure.
What are they going to see?
So this is the original part of the Nature Center. So this is our 60th anniversary. And there was just a little 40-acre bird sanctuary originally of this kind of wooded area. And it's the original Nature Center building. The Chet Ager building is behind us. And it's that rustic little wood shack is what they called it. It's a wonderful place to do bird watching. The trails are gentle. They're wood chipped, but there are some paved areas that are nice and ADA accessible. We also in this area have a number of gardens. So we have our herb garden, the bird garden, children's garden, as well as a natural play area for young kids. But really it's a place for everyone.
Right. I know that sometimes people might be afraid because it is large. 668 acres would be, bigger than a section, so people are afraid they might get lost. Can you get lost here?
Right around the Chet Ager building, there's a big wetland. This year it's pretty dry, but you just walk in a big circle around it. Once you cross the creek, I think that's where people get a little confused about where they enter and exited. On the prairie side of things, once you're out in the prairie, the big thing to look for, I tell people all the time, is just look for the white schoolhouse on the hill, because your car is right by that parking lot. Right. So if you get up on any ridgetop, you can kind of see where you're at. It's not a huge place, but it does feel like you're really out there.
Right. So how many people do you guys think visit this nature center or the park in general every year?
Sure. Easily over 100,000 people come out here every year. There's the people we see in the buildings, and we can count those folks. But there are so many people who don't come to the buildings, that they just come out to explore the trails, come out in the evenings, enjoy a beautiful sunset. Lots of photographers and bird watchers who come early in the morning to catch those early bird songs.
What do you love about this place? What keeps you working here? You said you've been here 11 years.
I have. I love that every day there's just something that's beautiful, maybe a little bit unexpected, and it's the little things for me. I love insects. I love going for a walk by myself, exploring a quiet place, observing. Today there was a monarch in the morning, and seeing the beautiful butterfly milkweed in bloom. In the fall, when you get the gorgeous gold prairie and the purple of the big blue stem and the blue sky, I think it's just amazing colors. I really just enjoy taking it in. I love listening to the bird calls, listening to the wind in the trees, touching the herbs in the herb garden. It's a full sensory experience, and I think that is just so powerful.
I think that most people don't think about that. We're so dependent on our eyesight, and so we forget to listen, we forget to smell. What are we smelling? The wood chips have a smell, those locust pods have a smell, the herbs have a smell. Maybe not so great of an idea to taste things, but sometimes you can taste things in the herb garden, or the old geologist trick of licking the rock to see what it looks like. So I do think that people need to learn to use all five senses when they're in a place like this. And
absolutely.
It's also cool that you don't have to go to Yellowstone to have I don't want to say a wild experience, but a nature experience.
That's so true. We are so fortunate to have this amazing place right here in our community, that this once regional park is becoming more and more a part of the community as the community grows around us. And it's just a wonderful respite for people to go out with their families, with their friends, on their own, and have some peace in nature. And you can walk, some people run, some people just sit and relax. And I think that that's wonderful that there's opportunities for all people to just enjoy this space.
I remember as a child coming out here, and when there were more animals in the zoo, and there were these funky goats and elk and things like that. Now it's bison. But, you know, now people my age probably can just enjoy that now, bringing their own children or grandchildren out here and having that same experience. And that must be fun for you to see that happen, those multi-generational experience, because it's not just a park for kids.
It's true. It is. It's a wonderful destination for lots of people. And I think of our interpretive buildings, the Prairie Building and the Chet Ager Building, as kind of our gateway to the outdoors. Come to these buildings, get your bearings, get a map, maybe have somebody recommend some things that you might see, some trails, well, what's in bloom, what are we seeing out here or hearing. It's also where the restrooms are, get a drink of water. So kind of those basic needs are what we can fulfill in the buildings. Also, that's where we have the live animals. And so people love seeing the little animals up close, but outside there's also all kinds of evidence of animals that we know are living here. We have fox and coyote and raccoons and turtles and frogs, and there's so many, and of course the bison. So many people come out here to see the bison.
I know the kind of, I don't want to say the newer part of the park, but it's somewhat newer, is this connection now in the southwest part that's part of this Haynes corridor thing. That people are hoping will eventually connect to Spring Creek Prairie or Denton area, connecting prairies, and that's a really interesting part of the park. Why don't you tell me about that?
Sure. The Haynes Branch Prairie Corridor is a large project, and it's a long-term project. It's going to take a lot to connect us, but prairie needs to be connected. Patchwork is okay, but prairie it's a landscape, and that's how it functions best. You know, we think about bison and other roaming animals. They need wide open spaces, and this connection that they're trying to build along the Haynes Branch corridor as a prairie corridor that connects us, the drainage that connects us, and hopefully a trail that will connect us, because I think there's so many people that they want the opportunity to roam. Right now that trail isn't really long, but it's a nice trail, and there's so many people who enjoy walking, going out with their dogs, riding bikes, and just taking it in.
The Nature Center itself is 60 years old, so there's been some thinking about what do we want this park to be, what is its purpose, who does it serve, and you really have to kind of give the city planners or city parents sort of making it a usable place. And it's not pristine, you know. I mean, there's not trash or anything lying around, but we care for the park, and people love this park.
It's managed differently. It's not what everyone is used to and maybe comfortable with. It is rougher, it's wilder. When the park was originally designed, the original design did include a bird sanctuary, but it took a long time for that sanctuary to actually be established. It was at least 30 years before the Nature Center, the Chet Ager Bird Sanctuary, was developed. And then just how it has grown, and the dedication of so many people, and the gift of time and financial resources to make it a reality, we're also blessed.
Well, and sometimes things like that, they do take time to develop. You can't just take an empty lot and say, this is a prairie now. I mean, there has to be some planning into what makes it a prairie. You know, what kind of things are we going to plant there? What are we going to take out? How are we going to manage this? Absolutely.
There is a lot of management involved, and we spend a lot of time trying to take care of our prairie so that we do have a well-functioning, restored prairie.
Right, and it is beautiful. And So that little white schoolhouse you mentioned earlier.
Yes, that's the Cunningham School. People may know it as the Heritage School.
Okay.
Lincoln Public Schools fourth graders have been coming out for years. It used to reside out at the fairgrounds before they moved west. It's just outside of Valparaiso is where it originally resided, and has been a wonderful resource for kids to come out and see what life was like in the 1860s.
Right. And then there's that sort of little cabin-y thing.
It's our Hudson cabin, and it also came from the fairgrounds, and originally it was, as far as we've been able to tell, one of the first wooden structures in Lancaster County from 1863. I believe I'm getting that right.
Wow, that predates the city of Lincoln.
Yes, it was, and it was actually found inside a house. Somebody was doing renovations, and as they were removing walls or doing whatever work they were doing, they found these logs, this log structure, and so they took it out of the house and reconstructed it. So it's got the original logs, it's got some square pegs in it, and just it's a really interesting little building. And we use that for our prairie education, also another Lincoln Public Schools program that we do. And so the kids come out, and that's one of the pieces of that class that we talk about what life was like for settlers. We talk about lots of other things as well, but that's just one component that just brings something extra to the class.
There's so much cool history out here because the original family that donated the property, and then it's expanded. But some of the buildings were built during the Depression, so that's, you can talk about that. There's buildings out here that are named after specific people, like whoever Mr. Ager was, and Lynn Johnson, the former Parks Director. There's a building that bears his name now, so even if you don't really care about the nature, the history part of it is also very interesting and very.
It's a really interesting park, and it's got some amazing vistas. The intentionality of the development of the park, and when you're up by that bison statue and you can look east and see the Capitol, just the planning and the forethought that went into this place is really pretty amazing. And yeah, it's wonderful what people have done for it.
Yeah. I think you have the best job in Lincoln.
I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah, you are pretty lucky. It's pretty fortunate. And today here we are, and there's kids here because there's camps going on. But when I was driving in, I saw people that were running. I saw a woman that was training a dog. There's just clearly the park is heavily used, which probably is a little bit concerning.
It can be tough. There are times, in the fall we are very busy, the entire park, because the park itself now has so many uses. There's the golf course, there's the concert venue, the cross-country meets, and on the weekends, all the different people utilizing the picnic grounds, getting married, doing all sorts of things out here. So it is a very busy place, and I do think about our footprint on this place, how we can make areas that we want to have very accessible for people, but also some areas that maybe are a little more remote and not as heavily traveled, because those are the areas. I mean, ultimately this place is also a wildlife sanctuary, and so we want to have spaces and habitat for wildlife that benefits all of us.
Yeah, that is kind of a balance. For human use, that you do kind of butt up against the animal use. I mean, we walked in here today and we saw some definite evidence of a raccoon party from last night, and which would be, it's fun to see them, and you see them in town too. But yeah, it does take some thoughtful planning about how to balance the animals and their use, or the plants, and how are they responding to how we're, like a few seconds ago we heard a jet fly over, and so how does that affect, and I know we're kind of close to some prison facilities, so we probably get to hear that once in a while, and the concert venue and all that. So there is a lot of pressure on this park to be kind of a lot of things to a lot of people. So
it really is. And so one of the times I enjoy the most is sometimes the dead of winter, when it's really cold and it can just be mine for a little bit, because this place isn't mine. I'm just a steward, and the staff here are stewards for the people of Lincoln, to really stewards for the resource so that the people of Lincoln can benefit from this wonderful place.
Right. And I think we're very lucky that we can benefit from that and that we have wonderful people like you that are taking care of it. I suspect we're out of time. And you and I could probably stand here and talk for another 25 minutes, but the show, would say no. So anyway, thank you so much for being here and being part of this and being a guest on Live and Learn. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. I love sharing this place with others.
Thank you. Thanks for doing it. I really appreciate it. And I want to remind our viewers, it's never too late to live and learn.